Leading Traders, this is Coach Robert, and I wanted to give a demonstration today about the different price movements of the MNQ on the left and the NQ on the right. And I'm using a tick chart so we can actually see where the gaps in the prices and the transactions happen. If this were a time-based chart, you could see where this gap would be filled with the movement coming back down through the area. And on the right-hand side, we have the NQ doing the same thing. I have pulled up both DOMs, so the yellow here is matching the MNQ, and the blue is linked to the NQ, and these are the two DOMs. Now, I put it on a 100 tick chart, so it will move pretty quickly, and I have my chart speed on Top Step X set to fast. Now, the current date is July 16th, and the time is 14:47, so 2:47 Central Time. And the reason I chose this is because I wanted to record this video and hold it through a daily mock orders, which are at 2:50 Central Time. And mock order, MOC, is market on close. It's when a lot of the institutions, banks and funds will either unload their positions or buy into positions. So there is generally a lot of data and a lot of transactions that happen at that time. And this is another reason why I wanted to use the tick charts. So a tick chart, it just plots a candle once 100 ticks or transactions have happened. So on this here, we have buyers and sellers on the DOM for the bid and ask for the MNQ and the NQ. Once a transaction happens, a buyer sells to a seller or a seller sells to a buyer, then that counts as one tick. Once 100 transactions happen, the candle will close. Now, since there is greater volume on MNQ, these candles will plot differently than the NQ. I think this is a great time to show what it actually looks like because we're going to get some really good movement here momentarily right now in just about a minute once the mock orders come out. There may be a delay, maybe slightly early, or there may be a delay where it's released slightly late, but we should see some fireworks here. And there was some news out today, earlier in the day, also. I believe it was a CPI day. So that's the consumer sentiment. So let's take a look at this, and we'll be able to watch. And if you need to pause or slow the video down, you can certainly do that. You can see how many orders are going through, and you should notice that the MNQ is significantly more than the NQ, obviously, since MNQ is a less expensive product. But really want you to pay attention to the candle formations. We can see that here's 100 ticks and 200 ticks that happen in this location, and I have uh, the cursor here, crosshairs synced to both time and price. So if we look at these two candles, that's 200 ticks, and this is the same 200 ticks except it plotted 3 candles. And here we are. I'll move this out of the way. Here is right on time, 2:50 Central Time. And we should see a lot of movement going on, and watch the candle structure. Watch how these things build differently from one another. I'll probably let this go for a couple more minutes until probably 2:55. We can actually see the orders really stacking up and seeing how fast it's jogging up and down. I have it set to auto center on the last price. If I take this off, it will be flying all over the place up and down. It will be hard to keep track of. But for right now, let's just keep an eye on the candle formations. We can see clearly that there are more formations happening on the MNQ versus the NQ. It's just a less expensive product or instrument to trade, so there's more activity with a lot of real estate traders, but also institutional. Look how these are building up now. Look how all of the bids are really stacking up, and all the ask prices here, they are getting a little wider. It definitely looks like there's more buyers. Now, these could be either sellers that are closing their positions, covering their positions, or they could be buyers waiting for the price to drop down a little bit. And if I do stop one of these momentarily and scroll up, we can see we are just coming off the high of day. There are a lot of trades, sellers sitting up there right now. But how about on the NQ? Same thing, but there are significantly less. positions waiting. So here, it looks like things have actually kind of slowed down, so it doesn't look like there were a lot of fireworks. We had some price movement right around the 250. So you can see that this is a 1 minute time frame. So all of this, let me back this up. 49. Here is there is 1450. I'm watching down the bottom, and 1451 is right here. So this, if you were on a time-based chart, is a 1 minute candle. Okay, that is a 1 minute candle. And we can do the same on the NQ as well. So let's find the NQ, exactly the same. Here's 1450, that's 250. And we'll go over to 251, which is here. And we will highlight that area. So that is a 1 minute candle on the NQ, and a 1 minute candle on the MNQ, because it's 1 minute time frame. But these are the transactions that happen, and you can clearly see the candle structure. We have some reds coming down and greens right back up. This is two reds, and we have a very volume. Oh, look at this gap. There we go. This is why I wanted to do this in real time. So imagine if you placed a market buy and it was right around 20, let's call that 23083, for example. Well, your next order, your next fill is 23086. So that's a 3-point differential, or if you called it slippage. So let's say you were having a stop order for some reason, and you said, I want to exit my trade, and it happened to be right in this area where there were no transactions. You would be exiting your trade 3 points different from where you anticipated. And that's on MNQ. Same for NQ. This is about the same thing. We have, call that 283 to 286. It's a 3-point differential. So one contract with 3-point slippage, one contract is $20 per point on NQ. 3-point slippage would be $60. Well, if you were using 10 NQ, that's a $600 slippage fill. And this is the market. This is what happens when you have fast-moving markets and gaps in prices. This is very, very common. And I really wanted to demonstrate, look at the wicks and the movements on this candle section right in here, where it was literally only 2 candles in that same, 3 candles in that same area. So be sure you understand your instruments, you know how they move, and this is a clear demonstration to show that MNQ and NQ are clearly different instruments. They act different, they move different, they fill different, there's different volume, and there's different price patterns. You may be looking at some type of a fractal pattern, and it will look different on NQ versus MNQ. You may be looking at a head and shoulders pattern. You may be looking at a bear flag or bull flag, or any of the channels, even averages, moving averages, or gaps. They're clearly different between these two instruments. And that's something I really wanted to demonstrate there. And I hope this did it. And it's around 1455 right now. We still see some movement, but we are in a bit of a range. So we're going from 80 to 89. So let's call this a 10-point range. We're in about a 10-point range in MNQ, and about the same in NQ as well. So we're around 79 to 89. So we're in about a 10-point range now. Again, these are 100 tick charts. I really wanted to demonstrate the difference between them. And if you actually scroll back on these charts, you can see clearly. Let's get the right time. Let's bring this down to 1400 on the left. That's 2 o'clock. And we'll move this to 1400 as well. So 2 o'clock. Here is 2 o'clock on the left side of each chart. And if I move my mouse across here, if I highlight this peak, we can see what the peak looks like. This is actually a different peak level. So here on the left side, a 23081 for MNQ, but on NQ, it was 23082.75. This is 81, and this is 2. So there's nearly just over a 2-point difference from MNQ to NQ. Hopefully this makes a little more sense in understanding of a little bit of slippage and the differences between the products. And I guess that does it for now. We'll catch you on the next one.